So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining the first panel of the Independent Hotel Show 2023. My name is Martijn van Eijk, and I will be your panel leader of today's discussion. And today we'll talk about hospitality with an authentic smile. As an entrepreneur, I work with people to help them feel fulfilled by embracing their true self and live authentically. Because living authentically has a lot of benefits. For example, it will give you direction in life of where you do or do not want to go. It will help you to set boundaries. It will help you to create more confidence. And it will also help you to build deeper and meaningful relationships and lead authentically. But for today's panel, we are going to start with the beginning of my career in the hospitality industry, about 14 years ago. For everybody who is not Dutch, I was born in the south of Holland, which means that I have a Brabants accent, a southern accent. You can clearly hear it by the pronunciation of our G's. And when I first came to Amsterdam 14 years back, I started my career in a 3-star hotel close to the Leidse Square as a receptionist. I was very proud landing that first job. They even gave me a beautiful gray suit with orange lining and this big logo printed on my chest. It felt a bit like a flight attendant EasyJet suit, but I was very proud wearing it. And I remember that after a couple of weeks, I really got into the flow of this job. My manager came to me and he said, "I think that you are ready to take the next step in your position." And as a receptionist at that time, I was picking up the phone. So they said I was ready to pick up the phone. I was a bit scared doing it. I wasn't sure if my English was good enough, but I said, let's go, let's do this. So the phone rings and I see my manager sitting in the back office looking at me with his big eyes, and I pick up the phone. Luckily, it's a Dutch guest, so I don't have to speak English. I have a good conversation with him. It was nice, all the same, similar hotel questions. What time is check-in? What time is breakfast? How does the room look like? I hang up. I was very proud because I thought the conversation went really smooth and I felt really professional. But I can see my manager in the corner of my eye standing up and walking towards me. And he stands next to me and he said, "I think it was a good call, but would you like to have some advice?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So he said, the next time you speak to a Dutch guest, it would be best if you eliminate your southern or Brabants accent because it's more professional. So at the time, I thought it was the most logical thing to do, so I really tried to change my accent and to speak more Dutch, even to a point where my friends and family said, "Hey, what's wrong? Why do you talk so weird nowadays? What's wrong with you?" So now, 14 years later, I fully embraced my Brabantse roots and there's a more Brabander in the house. I embraced my Brabantse roots and my G, and I know that professionalism has nothing to do with my accent. I do know that if I look back at it, I felt that I had to create an image to be successful in this industry. And this is just a small example of how traditions in the hotel industry can push away or manipulate the personalities and identities of the people we work with for the sake of guest experience and brand image. This research was published by Forbes.com in 2019, and it proves that there is a direct correlation between being authentic or being able to be your true self and well-being. Just how well do you feel on the work floor? And that's interesting, because this number was published this year by the Cambridge University. 24% of the people working in our industry report mental health problems. That is the top 3 highest number out of 20 industries measured in the UK last year. And yes, COVID is a big driver of this number, but so is COVID a big driver of a more diverse workspace. We have to get used to more race, culture, economical background, sexual preferences, gender. And this more diverse workspace also forces us to think outside of the box when we talk about authenticity, diversity, inclusion, create a safe space where everybody can be their true selves, thrive professionally and at the same time feel well. So that's what this panel discussion today is about. We will talk about how can we embrace authenticity, diversity, inclusion as a hotel industry where people can still be their best selves. So for that, we have collected our beautiful panel members, which all bring their own expertise from different industries and insights. So can I have a warm applause, please, for Jolanda, the General Manager of Inc. Hotels Amsterdam. Oh. Reinier, founder of the mental health platform Oopkop. And Natalia, founder of Tribe NL. So far, my introduction. I'm going to sit down. So, Jolanda,
Very
welcome. Thank you for joining. We had a conversation about a couple of weeks ago, and we spoke about authenticity and diversity. And you told me the first thing, I don't really understand why I should talk about this topic again. Can you tell us what you mean with that?
Well, you know, you think you come from Brabant, I come from Limburg, so my accent is even worse. I only have to say goedemorgen and then everybody knows where I come from. You know, I was thinking about the question last night again, and I thought, inclusion, what does it really mean, inclusion? For me, I think in my hotel we are 67 people, and we have only 15 Dutch. And out of the 52, we have 27 different countries where people are coming from. So with us, it's not about inclusion. With us, it's about part of the team. And we have very few rules. You know, in the onboarding day where I spent some time with the new recruits, you know, there are only two rules. One is because we're a hospitality business, you look after the guest. Very simple. And secondly, you look after each other and you embrace the differences of somebody else. You know, I don't care who you love, I don't care who you believe in, that's your own proper belief or the way you would like to be. What I would like to have is a safe environment where you can be yourself. And we hire you for a job, we don't hire you to judge somebody else. So that's a very clear rule, and I look after it like a hawk because, you know, I'm in the hospitality business this year for 45 years. And I'm not 82, so don't count. Almost, but not. I lived in 8 different countries where I worked in different kind of hotels, and I always worked with different kind of cultures, background, however you want to call it. But it's very important to me that you accept each other and learn from each other, and don't judge.
Yep.
Because who are you to judge?
And that's beautiful. I think you have created this culture within Inc. Hotels, which is, I've been there, we spoke about it, and it's really alive. It's not just a story, it's really there. But we also spoke about the threat, the biggest threat in this industry is also our guests. Because usually we say we have all these ambitions of we want to be diverse, we want to be inclusive, but the guest. We always prioritize, or we are hesitant, or we are afraid of what they might say if we embrace more diversity and inclusion. From your best practice, how can we balance authenticity, so people be their true selves, and high levels of excellent service?
Because if you are allowed to be in a safe environment where you can be yourself, you're more self-assured as well. Because you don't need to hide. You can look somebody in the eyes because we accept you. And if we accept you, you see, it's always like, who's we? We all accept each other. And I think you're more self-assured if you know you can be yourself. So it's the same if we put people in these horrible costumes where they just try to hide because you don't look nice or you don't feel good. And I think that's the same if you know you're safe, you know you can be yourself, and you know you are supported, then there's no issue. Because the guests are different as well. Yeah. They come from all over the world, And they can feel as well that we're not a very standardized hotel and where we say the same phrases all the time. And, you know, I have some people, the fan club sitting here. I pay them to come.
Yeah.
But, you know, it goes by itself.
Yeah.
So the guest doesn't even notice that you are different or
Yeah.
from
Inclusive.
another country or
exactly.
whatever you want to call it. So it sounds very easy because I think it could be very easy.
Yeah.
You know, we make our lives so difficult.
It is easier than it sounds. It sounds very difficult sometimes, but it's
Yeah.
easier. It's to
You
just
can make it so easy.
Yeah.
Don't be so difficult. You know, look at each other and grab what somebody has really, really nice or has a quality you don't have and you would like to have. Take it from somebody. You share it and what you don't like, why would you want it?
Yeah. We also spoke about the challenge of the new generations, and there will be a whole speech talk about this today later, or tomorrow actually. But we also noticed that in order to be yourself, your authentic self, you also have to know who you are. And we spoke about the impact of social media and etc. and other stimulants of new generations. What do you think the role for more experienced generations like us should be in order to stimulate young talent to actually be who they are so they can make a positive impact? What do you think we should?
I think first of all we need to understand. You know, we have in our hotel 4 generations, and you know, my work ethic is much more different than the youngsters from today. And you know, I have a son of 22, and I think it's unbelievable that he just doesn't have my ethic of working 14 hours a day. Or I used to work 16 hours a day, 6 days a week, when I thought it was
complaining.
very normal. And so it became a bit frustrating. So I got a coach, and they are very experienced in the happy millennials and the Generation Z. And I said, just explain how these youngsters are working, so then we can adapt ourselves to each other without me going insane while they are looking for work, life balance, 4 days a week. You know, so where I come from and where they are coming from. So, you know, try to understand each other first.
Try to understand each other. Yeah, and then help them to bring out.
Oh, then you share your knowledge and so, you know, help them to grow. And you know, I can see it. You know, the social media has loads of good things, but has also a lot of minor things that make people believe that they need to be something they are never going to be.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And that's very, you know, the filters and, you know, I just went to the ladies and had a look and I went like, okay, no, well, this is what we have to do with it. Can't put any filters on it. But, you know, be yourself and embrace yourself and try to be who you are and live it. You know, don't look at others.
Yeah, beautifully said. Thank you, Jolanda.
Thank you.
It brings us to a different experience. Natalia, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Your experience brings us to the importance of inclusion. And when we spoke in our preparation, you said inclusion can be incredibly painful.
Yeah.
What do you mean with that?
Yeah, I remember I said harder word.
Yeah, I know you did. I took it away.
Well, we talk a lot about diversity and inclusion, and diversity is something that you can easily achieve. It's a numbers game, let's say. You have people from all different countries and backgrounds. But as a good colleague of mine once said, you bring them to the dance, but do you dance with them? That's a little bit the difference. So bring them to the dance is easy, but then who are you dancing with? You will go with the one that does the valse, which you are very used to do, and you are very good at it, so you are shining. But will you be strong enough to say, okay, I'm gonna work today, gonna dance with a break dancer and try to learn and fall. And so that's what I mean with being painful, because it's a process. So it's a process about what Yolanda well said is a process of awareness, self-consciousness. So you need to understand also who you are, to understand who you are not, and what this other person is bringing to the dance, let's say. So it's always, it's a difficult thing to do, and it's not something you do overnight. So when I'm always very interested when a company says, we are very inclusive and diverse, what do they mean with that? Because being diverse, again, we say numbers game, but how are you including these people in the process of making decisions? Or
And with a numbers game and diversity, you mean it's easier to have people from different race or different sexual preferences or different gender, etc.
Right.
But inclusion is an intention.
Right. So for inclusion, you have to walk the talk. That's, for me, was the difference as well.
Yeah.
So you can say, yeah, I have so what Yolanda is doing, they're walking the talk, right? And this intention is coming clearly from the top. So because Yolanda is how Yolanda is, and she's inclusive in a real way, like in a, you used a word before, like a real, like for real, right? Like it's not fake.
Yeah.
Your team will see it and will copy it and will say, okay, this is our culture, this is our DNA.
Yeah.
And this is really difficult to achieve with a memo or a list of values that you put on the wall, or it's a people thing. And you can only do it from the personal part.
Yeah.
And that's always painful, because being a person is complicated, difficult, you're different than me. I have to.
And you have to accept things that are not yours and to accept everyone else, which is an ego game at some point as well, which can be painful, I can imagine. Definitely. And if we talk about the hotel industry specifically, what is it that you see happening when it comes to inclusion, and what you think can be improved?
Well, as an industry, we have actually a very good base, which is we are a hospitality industry. So that's really cool, because we have already a very strong tool, that is, we are there for others. So that means we have those bases for being inclusive, right? And we also are always exposed to different cultures and different. And I think hospitality should be the industry that will set the example for other industries, because we are used to work with all kinds of cultures, all kinds of ages, all kinds of study backgrounds as well. So people from LBOs to HBO to whatever you call that in Holland. But so the base is there. But there's one thing, in the hospitality industry, we also have a lot of extrovert dominant people, right? I'm an example, maybe. So for me, for example, one of the things that helped me was to understand, what does it mean being an extrovert dominant woman, right? What does it do with people I work with? And when I understood that, I understood, okay, I have some introvert people in my team. How do I make them shine? What am I doing? And it's a process. And a certain moment in my career, I realized I was doing it completely wrong, because I thought, oh, I'm super inclusive. Everybody can talk in my team. Everybody has the tools. And I'm always saying, so bring your ideas. But I was giving introvert people the option to give their ideas right now. And when I understand, okay, I have to do it differently. I have to say, well, this is what we're going to do. Will you come back in 2 days with your ideas? And then I was like, okay, wow, now I get it. But it's a process. So I think that will be my main point. You have to work on it.
Work on it. Work in progress.
Yeah.
Continuously changing and evolving.
Yes.
Right. One last question for you, Natalia. Do you believe that embracing inclusion and authenticity improves well-being?
Yes. And I don't think I need to explain it. But we see it every day. I've seen it in my teams, like Yolanda sees it in her teams. I have seen what happens when you don't do it, what can do with people.
Yeah.
So I think that the other example, the example what happens when you don't do it, is stronger maybe than what happens when you do it. You can
Yeah.
really make somebody feel like crap and not being able to perform if you are not seeing who they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you think there is a some kind of fear in our industry that keeps us from doing this?
I think it's a lot of lack of awareness and a lot of unconscious bias we all have. So I think that's more that, I want to think it's more that than
Yeah.
a lack of wanting. I think it's a lot of lack of awareness. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Natalia.
Okay, thank you.
Renier, thank you for joining as well.
Yes.
Talking about well-being. As a founder of the well-being platform OPCOP, how do you look at the importance of embracing authenticity and diversity and inclusivity when it comes to well-being?
Good question, of course. I would say that, yeah, what is a definition of well-being? I would say a definition would be to be the best version of yourself. A very broad definition, perhaps. And as an employer or as a hotel, you can very much create an environment of which an employee experience inclusivity and authenticity. And authenticity, in my opinion, is to be that best version of yourself. And so preventively investing in that true person, because if you are that true person, you will also act in the most productive and effective way for the company, is super important. And sometimes, or at this very moment we are still a bit more reactive in investing in well-being instead of preventively investing, and therefore have the ultimate effectiveness of employees for the hotel business in this case.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then if I ask you the question, what is more important, the guest or staff?
Yeah. Yeah, it is a tricky question, of course. You come from Brabant, come from Limburg. I'm coming from the east of the Netherlands,
Yeah.
from the Achterhoek. So we have, let's say,
Yeah.
Very.
a very mixture in terms of recipe. But I come also from a hotel business, a fourth generation, very traditional near Doetinchem. So I was really brought up in that hotel business, and it was always the guests. And more or less, I've also started OPCOP because there was a bit of, let's say, lack for attention for myself. And therefore I thought, hey, because we always focus on the guests. If the guests are happy, then we were happy. If the guests were not happy, then we were not happy. But if you look at, let's say, the foundation of a hotel business, I would say the foundation is, when are you successful? Then you have a successful product and you provide the best service. And that foundation is all because of you have good employees. If you have good employees, then your product will probably be very good, and you can provide the perfect service. So I believe first and foremost you should take care of your employees, and with that you have a perfect product and you have the perfect service, and then you will be able to attract those to attract those guests and retain them.
Yeah.
And if you only focus on the guests, then at a certain moment your product will decrease in value, as well as your employees, which you now see very much happening in the hospitality. There is a war for talent going on, and people are not able to attract them because you cannot only offer money. There's so much more to offer nowadays.
Yeah. In the same conversation we had, we spoke about how guest-facing our work is in the hospitality industry. So we always have to take into account our guest experience, of what guests expect.
Yeah.
So, and at the same time, we also want to help employees to be their best selves. So how can we kind of balance, or what would be a recommendation on improving well-being and at the same time maintaining that guest experience?
Yeah, I would again say first focus on those employees. And those employees, and it's now also, we don't have only a guest experience, but we also have an employee experience where you should take care of. PricewaterhouseCoopers came with a study of how you should take care of your employee experience. And out of the top 10 topics, the top 3 are all regarding mental well-being. So personal development, trainings, work stress within the company, and well-being in general, so physical and mental well-being. So if you preventively invest in your employees, then and you focus on mental well-being, then eventually that guest experience will come as well, because hey, your productivity go up. People are really working with an authentic smile, as we talk here about, and that will give then the results also in terms of your guest experience. And if you are working with half of your sales force or with your employee force, because you are not able to attract them with the right, not only primary benefits but also secondary benefits, then you have a half hotel to fill with a full hotel in terms of rooms, then you have an issue.
Yeah.
And what do we experience as for Oopkop in what we facilitate to the people is, don't do a vitality week or these kind of things, but make sure you focus on the individual, because everybody is different, everybody has different needs and wants. Offer a variety. Certain people want to speak, certain people want to experience.
Yeah.
So also there's really a one-size-fits-none in terms of facilitating well-being.
Yeah.
And make sure it is anonymous, because it is positive, but it also sometimes has some negative aspects in it. And people want first in a safe space experience well-being or personal development. And you cannot do that within a group and let's talk about your mental health at this moment.
You already said this a few. We have to take into account the needs of the people that we work with.
Yeah.
Conversation that we had amongst all of us is the entry of the new generation in our industry. So what is most important if we talk about their needs, and how can we all take that into account?
Yeah, I've heard by 2025 already 75% of the workforce is millennial. And then I would also count myself still as the last dinosaur of millennial, but
early millennial.
There below you have already Gen Z, and we see them a bit, or I quite often hear, they are weak. You touch them and they go already burnout. Everybody has a burnout at the moment, and they don't want to work anymore, or they only talk about purpose and self-development and all these bullshit. And then we smile and then we say, yeah, that's a bit the case with the younger generation. However, I always make then the case about, I've been grown up in, the town is called Hummelo. 1,650 people. And that was the only thing I knew. Once every 6 months I went to Amsterdam with my parents, but that is the only thing I knew. And that was a very safe space. And nowadays, the younger generation are 50% of their time, so half of their life, online. Half of their life, they see a world that they can never achieve.
Yeah.
That is always more beautiful than they have ever, than they will ever achieve within Hummelo, for example.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is super insecuring. That is like every time they see something which they will never be able to live, and that is also the society that we all have created. So in my opinion also we have a certain responsibility to facilitate these younger employees who are extremely struggling, and who am I, the insecurity of seeing all the time a more beautiful world. We also have that responsibility from me as Oopkop, but also from the employers, to take care of these youngsters, to be a bit more secure in their life and to be eventually an authentic person.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you. I'm going to open up the floor for some questions. We have a couple of minutes left. Do you have some questions for our panel members when it comes to the topic that we're talking about? Yeah. There's a microphone coming your way.
Hello, thank you very much. Very interesting discussion, and it's very up to date. We are all facing all these questions, and we all want to be inclusive and embrace the change. And I think in hospitality industry we pass this, inclusivity in terms of nationality, different sexual preferences, race, and so on. But we are now facing a new One, that we are not sure how to behave in this case with gender preference. Because now we have a few employees who, for example, look like women, were born like women, but identify themselves as a man. And now it's a question of changing rooms, toilets, and stress from other team members because they are aware of this self-identification, but they are not used to that, and they are saying, "Hey, girls, let's go out," but then one of the girls feel offended by just saying that.
Okay. Yeah.
And what is the best industry practice in this? Thank you.
Yeah. What do you think?
It's a good question because one of my team members is X, and I go like, oh, go now I have to. Which word do I need to use? He, she, can't, they, them. It's very complicated, and I think if you're not in an environment where you have a multicultural, multi-gender, whatever you would like environment, it's very hard to keep up. We do once a year, we have a huge ink goes pink, and we make a statement for the LGBT IQ plus community. And I go, it changes so fast. What we can only do, what I do with, I can't say the name, but I asked her, would you like a separate toilet? Would you like, how do you feel to change? What do we say to you? Do we say they? Do we say them? Do we, whatever. So I think we grow in this industry as it's, or in this world where everything changes very fast. Just ask how the person would feel comfortable in what we say or what we ask or how we call it.
To open up the conversation also
Yeah.
to the other staff members, I assume.
Yeah, well, that's the next difficult step because you can't put her in front of her. There you go. Them in front of everybody, going like, "No, tell them what you think." Then you're going to open up because somewhere down, deep down in people, there is still this little judgment on what they think about somebody else.
Okay.
So you have to be careful, but it's a true question because it's coming up more and more, and how to deal with it. I can only say, talk to the person and ask how they would feel comfortable.
Agree. Thank you. I saw another question on this side. Is that correct?
Oh well, nobody leaves. There are no more questions.
Are there any
deal.
other questions on this side?
Ah, good. Love questions.
Thank you. Hi. I often hear with topics such as diversity and inclusion, people say it's just about getting the right employees in, it's having the right attitude in hiring. But when you already have your core staff defined, what are some concrete suggestions beyond a memo or a daily workshop or something to really inspire and put this message of inclusivity throughout the company?
I think for Natalia, yeah.
I can give you the advice which I took for myself, which is to take your team, whatever it is. In my case, was my management team for a day to, well, first you have to create trust in your team that they are going to be open to each other. That's the first step. If you don't have trust within a team, you're not going to be able to make any step whatsoever. So you start with trust, and then you will get together and be bold and open to each other about your faults, your strengths. And it starts with yourself. So I started telling how horrible I am with certain things and how insecure I am about other things. And we talk about how the other team members could help me with those things. So you start like that, helping everybody to realize that they are not perfect. And everybody knows you're not perfect, but it's difficult to say it in a team. And when you are responsible of team members, you don't want to say, I cannot do this. So you have to help them that, so that they embrace other people as well. So it's a process. It's not like it's what you say. You cannot make a memo or so. It's a process. You have to do the work. Yeah.
Thank you, Natalia.
You're welcome.
Our time is up, so we have to finish this panel for today. If you have any questions, I will be here all day. I know Rainier's here all day. You might have to go back.
No, well, half a day.
We'll see. Natalia
I will
will
be
be
around,
here.
yeah.
So thank you so much. I would like to have a warm applause for our panel. And I'm looking forward to see you here on the rest of the day. Thank you so much.